This thing is like a rocket. Oh, and we're tilting. 300 kilometers an hour and still climbing. Wow, what a way to arrive into Shanghai.
The New York of China, the Pearl of the Orient, the Paris of the East. It's got a lot of nicknames, but I think we agree with the locals' nickname, Modu, the fascinating city. It's a city of contrast. East meets west, the ancient sitting side by side with the modern, and where tranquility is interrupted by frenetic energy. We're Ruth and Martin, travelers exploring as much of this beautiful planet as we can. And Shanghai is where we will be spending 3 days discovering how fascinating a city this truly is. There's no better place to start a Shanghai trip than at the Bund.
Across, it almost seems like it's some sort of screen or movie set, that it just doesn't even seem like it's real.
There are many great river waterfronts, promenades to walk down, but this one I think has the most epic view.
Crossing the Huangpu River into Pudong, it hits you. This skyline is almost brand new. The Oriental Pearl Tower opened in 1995, and everything else rose in its shadow. It feels part New York, part sci-fi, and unmistakably Shanghai. Even on day one, we can already feel a city constantly reinventing itself. We had planned to head up the Shanghai Tower, but the clouds and smog had other ideas. So instead, we wandered through Pudong, and honestly, seeing it at ground level showed us another side of the city. Fast, polished, futuristic. A perfect first taste of the contrast we came here to explore.
One of the more elegantly designed traffic circles I've ever seen. It's like a park up here.
And after all that walking, the only logical next step was dumplings. Warm, simple, perfect. A delicious way to end our first day in Modu, the fascinating city.
There's shrimp and beef. And,
But they're different from Xiaolong Bao.
because they're fried.
They're fried, got it.
Savory, doughy, and just a bit oily, they were the perfect comfort food for a fast-moving city. Waking up the next morning, it's clear that Shanghai is a canvas of steel and glass. But right below our hotel is an oasis of green, and it has an important history. Wandering into People's Park, we found ourselves surrounded by trees, winding paths, and ponds, and the city noise faded away. What surprised us is the history here. Before 1949, this whole area was actually a huge racetrack, one of the biggest in East Asia. After gambling and racing were banned, it became this public park and square. And today, it's not just a park, it's also home to the famous marriage market.
So you know, they hold a marriage market here every weekend for parents to find a suitable mate for their son or daughter. Would that be something that you would have been comfortable with back in the day?
No. That would not have been good. What a great vantage point to see the old and the new.
Shanghai is changing so fast that if someone from old Shanghai time traveled today, Yuyuan Bazaar is probably one of the few places that would still feel familiar. It's busy and touristy, but it's a pocket of the old city that's still hanging on to the past. Right in the middle of the bazaar is Yew Gardens. It was built back in the 1500s, which is pretty wild when you think about how modern the rest of Shanghai feels. Even with the crowds, it's cool to see something this old still sitting right here in the middle of the city.
There's so many different things to see here between all of the different rocks, the garden, the flowers, the water, the buildings.
There are so many different gardens here that it's hard to actually understand where you're walking. But that's almost a good thing because it allows you just to get lost. All right, that looks pretty cool to walk across, but
How do we get? It's kind of like a maze in here.
yeah, it's kind of hard to figure out how to get to and from anything that you see.
In the afternoon, we visited the Shanghai Jewish Refugee Museum, something we honestly didn't know much about before coming here. During the 1930s and 40s, Shanghai took in thousands of Jewish refugees. We couldn't film inside, but it was a really eye-opening part of this city's history. Leaving the museum, we made our way over to the French Concession. This part of Shanghai feels completely different. Again. Tree-lined streets, old lane houses, and a really strong mix of Chinese and Western influences. But the thing that stood out to us, especially around Tianzifang, was the contrast. On one hand, it's this really charming maze of little alleys, and on the other, you've got big Western brands and high-end shops tucked right in. It's a strange mix, but it kind of sums up Shanghai. Old meets new, local meets global.
It is a weird contrast of the origin of the Socialist and the Communist Party to the area that it now sits in, which is all westernized.
Ending the day here, the blend of old and new feels clearer than ever, and tomorrow keeps showing why that contrast is exactly what makes Shanghai so fascinating. After 2 days of walking through Shanghai's canyons of glass, it's easy to forget that for most of its history, this was basically a small riverside town. So this morning, we took a break from the skyscrapers and hopped on a train, about 50 kilometers out to the water town of Zhujiajiao.
So why do they call it Water Town? That's why.
Older than Venice, Zhujiajiao has been here for over 1,700 years, and drifting through these canals really does feel like stepping back in time. Some of the bridges are more than 1,500 years old. It's such a different pace of life out here, definitely a long way from modern Shanghai.
You know these are older than Venice?
Definitely get the Venice vibes.
We ended the ride at Fangshan Bridge, the most iconic spot in Zhujiajiao, and the perfect place to look out over the canals.
It feels a little disconcerting with a low rail, even though I'm in the center.
This really does feel like the Asian Venice.
I feel like this would be the Grand Canal.
Let's go explore that way.
From the bridge, we started wandering through the back lanes, crossing little side bridges, and passing busy stores and market stalls.
There's so many smells, sights, and sounds. Don't even know where to look at.
And then just a few steps away, we found these quiet canals and hidden lanes where everyday life unfolds, a completely different pace from the busy streets.
In this area where we walked to, it's a little more real, where people live. Obviously, you can see they all have their laundry out.
Yeah, that boat is not going to be rideable. But that one, that looks like a cute little one to ride in. It's like a little bird. It's like a duck. Even though the stores have become more modern, it's easy to see that these buildings haven't changed much in centuries.
Leaving the quiet canals behind, we headed back into Shanghai, and though we were back in the city, the quiet remained. So many of the scooters here are electric, so you really don't hear them coming. You have to be careful, and they will drive on the sidewalk. So Ruth, here we are at a busy intersection. What don't you hear a lot of?
You don't hear a lot of traffic, actually. I don't hear
No.
tons of traffic noise.
Most of it is electric. Cars, mopeds, scooters, all electric.
So it's crazy. We come out of the subway station. The temple is right above it.
Our first stop back in the city was Jing'an Temple. We didn't have reservations, and it seemed geared to only those with a local email address or a WeChat account, so we couldn't go inside. But even from the street, you get this wild contrast of gold rooftops rising out of a very modern Shanghai.
So it's a bit of a bummer that we get to the temple here and we cannot buy tickets. You have to do it through WeChat, and I guess you need a Chinese phone number. Otherwise, you can't connect or do it somehow. So it's unfortunate, but it's
Pretty from the outside.
Yeah, it's pretty. I'm sure it would be gorgeous inside.
So since we couldn't get into the Jing'an Temple, we made our way to the Jade Buddha Temple, a place we could get in, and it's a place that's been here long before Shanghai became the skyscraper capital it is today. And it's where you really see how these older traditions fit into a modern city life.
this is the most active worshiping temple we've been to so
Yeah,
far.
I think so. Always try to be mindful when we come to temples, churches, not to interfere with parishioners or those that are doing their praying or their respect. There's probably about 7 or 8 pavilions here, and each of them has a beautiful Buddha in them.
We wrapped up our last night walking down Nanjing Road, getting pulled in by every neon light and giant screen. And honestly, it felt like the perfect lead up back to the Bund. We started this trip here, and it only felt right to end it here too, looking out at the skyline that somehow makes all the old meets new stuff make sense. After 3 days, we get why the locals call it Modu, the fascinating city. Because every corner we explored, every contrast we ran into, is what makes Shanghai unlike anywhere we've ever been. Thanks for watching, and here's to more travels.